One of the grade 8 expectations is that students determine the angle relationships for intersecting lines and for parallel lines and transversals. To do this, I'm going to introduce two new screens. I'm going to go to View and introduce the algebra screen, and I'm going to go back to View and introduce the input bar. So now what I want to do is draw two parallel lines. I'm going to go to my line tool and select line and draw my first line. Then I'm going to go to the point tool and make a point somewhere off that first line. Then I'm going to go to this tool, which allows me to draw parallel and perpendicular lines. I want parallel lines. It says select a point and a parallel line, so I'll select this point first and this parallel line. I now have two parallel lines. You'll notice that if I choose to move the first line, the second line always stays parallel to that first one. I'm now going to draw a transversal, so I'll go back to the line tool and draw a line that intersects the two parallel lines. What I want to do now is I want to measure these four angles and measure these four angles. But to do that, I need to find the point of intersection of this line and this line, of this line and this line. So I'm going to go back to my point tool and pick intersect. And then I can pick the two lines. And again here. I actually need one more point on this line, so while I'm in my point tool, I'm going to pick point and put another point there. Now I'm ready to find the angle measurements. One thing you need to know about angle measurements in GeoGebra is that you have to put the vertex of the angle you're trying to measure in the middle, and the other points you go counterclockwise. So for example, for this angle here, I'm going to need to go B, F, and then that looks like H. So I'll measure that angle there. So I'll go B, F, H, and you'll see that that angle is 65 degrees. Similarly, if I want to measure the opposite angle there, I'm going to go counterclockwise, so I might go A, F, and then G. Now your students may notice at this point that those two angles, the opposite angles, are equal, and they might wonder if that's always so. So one way to find out is to move that line and notice that vertically opposite angles are always equal. I'm now going to find these other two angles. So I'll go to my angle tool and I'll pick G, F, B, and H, F, A. And so once again, we notice that vertically opposite angles are equal, and your students might also notice that these two sum to 180 degrees, and I'll show you shortly how you can verify that that's always true. What I want to do is I also want to find these four angles, so I'll go through that procedure. And I'll just move them around so we can see them. And indeed, again, vertically opposite angles are equal. Now you can ask your students to hypothesize what other angle relationships might exist. We're hoping that they will see that corresponding angles and alternate angles are equal, and they may even notice that there's a relationship between these two co-interior angles. They may suggest that these two always add up to 180. So let's check if that's true. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to find the sum of these two angles. To do that, I'll use the input bar. I need to get these two Greek letters, so I'm going to select this tool here and find those two. So that's gamma plus, and that looks like theta. So I will add in that one I got that angle wrong. Let's try to find it. I think I got it right that time. And if I scroll down, indeed, the sum of those two angles is 180 degrees. And what I can do is verify that that's always true by moving the original lines. And while the angles change, that sum always stays the same. Thank you.